The president's Truth Social post spoke very loud and clear to Democrats across this country, elected officials who are using their platforms to encourage violence against federal law enforcement officers, who are encouraging left-wing agitators to unlawfully obstruct legitimate law enforcement operations. And if you talk to any law enforcement officer, no matter what level they work at, they want to be working with their counterparts, whether that's at the federal level or the federal authorities wanting to work with their counterparts at the state and local level. It's truly shameful that now for more than a year you've had elected Democrat governors and mayors who have basically held their state and local law enforcement hostage and told them you cannot cooperate with federal law enforcement. Why? They cooperated under the Biden administration. It's because these Democrats are deranged in their hatred for President Trump, and they are holding their state and local law enforcement hostage as a result. And these Democrat mayors and governors are doing this over what? Over the lawful and legitimate law enforcement operations to remove violent criminals from the streets of Minnesota, from the streets of California, from the streets of New York, and from the streets of every state across this country. And you don't see these riots and this vandalism taking place in states like Florida. Why? Because you have a governor in that state who has empowered federal and local authorities to work together. And it's despicable what we're seeing from these Democrat politicians, especially in sanctuary states and cities across the country.
In Minneapolis, I've got this statement from the Department of Homeland Security in the United States. They've just provided an update on social media about what's going on the ground in Minneapolis. I'll read it to you. They say at 6:50 local time, federal law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted traffic stop in Minneapolis of what they're calling an illegal alien from Venezuela who was released into the country, they say, by Joe Biden. In an attempt to evade arrest, the Department of Homeland Security says the subject fled the scene in his vehicle and crashed into a parked car. The subject then fled on foot. Homeland Security says the law enforcement officer caught up with the subject on foot and attempted to apprehend him when he began to resist and violently assault the officer. They say that then resulted into a struggle on the ground. Two subjects came out from a nearby apartment and also attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle. This is part of the lengthy statement from the Department of Homeland Security. They say as the officer was being ambushed and attacked by two individuals, the original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or broomstick. They say fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by the individuals, the officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg. So that is what has triggered the scenes you are seeing right now on your screens in the streets of Minneapolis. Now, to put this in context, we are just 1 week on from the shooting of 37-year-old Renee Good. That has triggered intense emotion and division in the United States between those who believe ICE agents acted recklessly or went too far in the actions they took against this US citizen, and what we've heard in the comments from the US president, members of his administration who claim that the officer was acting in self-defence when he shot the woman through the car windscreen, shooting her dead. This situation, though, a separate incident, as I've been referring to this statement from the Department of Homeland Security, describing what they say are the events that have unfolded tonight there on the ground that led to one of the federal officers shooting this man, hitting him in the leg. At this stage, the attacked officer and the subject are both in hospital. So that's the lay of the land at the moment in the United States. You can see federal officers there. We've seen canisters of smoke exploding at certain times here as federal authorities try and get a handle on the situation on the ground. This is continuing to develop as we head into 2 p.m. here, Australian Eastern Daylight Time.
Look, let's go to Minneapolis now, where officials say they are aware of reports of a shooting involving federal law enforcement in the city in the past few hours. More than 2,000 federal agents have been deployed to the city as anti-ICE protests escalate. Agents have used tear gas and pepper spray to deter confrontations with protesters as a pushback continues following the death of Renee Good. Kosha, what can you tell us about this latest incident?
Yes, you know, I hate to say it, but this is something that's inevitable. So it's another case of an altercation that's happening from protesters that are either organic or are being egged on by various agitprop groups because this really is existential for their cause and what the illegal immigration industry really means for one side versus the other. And I just think that there's nowhere else to go from here, unfortunately. This clash is going to happen, and one side is going to win and the other will not on this debate, and you are going to see these types of incidents, which don't look well optically for the ICE agents because they're armed, they're going in, they're doing a job. You see these individual people getting in trouble, but that is just the cauldron that we're in right now, and it's just going to continue.
Michael, I want to quickly discuss with you, we only have about a minute left, but British Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has told the Parliament she has no confidence in the West Midlands Police Chief, and that's about a report into a decision to ban Israeli fans from a soccer game in the UK. Now, that was a shameful decision. Apparently, the report relied on AI and there was a fake match that the AI used, but whatever the reason was, Israeli fans should never have been banned because police couldn't guarantee that they would be safe.
Sky News' friend Patrick Christie's has now said that they've admitted that it was AI, the West Midlands Police. I mean, that bloke is a shocker. He should resign. And the problem is, Karoline, it's all over the world. Unfortunately, there are some security forces, police forces that seem to have been affected by political correctness, by the woke mentality. And they've just got to be taught a lesson. That bloke has got to be sacked. And if there are similar people here, the same thing.
Yep. Too right. Michael Danby, Kosha Gada, thanks for your time tonight.